So good morning everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Drishti IAS. In this live session, we'll be discussing today's Indian Express newspaper. Since most of the things which we have already discussed, like when we are talking about this front page here, you will see there is this particular thing, Moscow message, deepen ties, no solution on the battlefield. Okay, so basically here they have talked about our trade related ties, our cultural ties, our connectivity related ties, and then they have said no solution on the battlefield. That is basically in the context of Ukraine. All these things we have already talked about. Okay, second thing is we have discussed this particular thing in our previous sections. There was this explain section yesterday also, so we will not go into details of it. If there is some kind of explain related article which will come again, and that will be very much important with respect to the data etc for your mains examination, then we will try to cover that. Okay, then coming to the next here, 5 army personnel killed, 5 injured as militant targets convoy in Kathua. Okay, so yesterday we have talked about certain activities which has happened, some encounter which has happened where 6 militants were killed and 2 of our security personnel were they lost their life. So after that they have actually retaliated with this particular incident, and there was this attack, you can say, on Kathua. Okay, so since we have discussed this article or the related things like why Ladakh, why this area of Jammu and Kashmir in the vicinity of Pir Panjal witnessed such activities, so we have discussed this as well. Okay, today we will be discussing 3-4 articles, that is passive euthanasia plea. Okay, so there was this particular you can say petition which has gone to the High Court, and then they have referred to the old case of Supreme Court. Okay, and then they have actually refused the plea. We will see what is euthanasia, we will see what is active and passive euthanasia, and in India if they are legal or not. Okay, moving further, we will be seeing employment rate rises to 6%. So that is there, we will be talking about that. That is the topic of economy. Okay, moreover we will see that all these datas, okay, which has been discussed, that won't be very much important. Just know that it is hovering around somewhere around 6% or something like that. Court on menstrual leave policies. Okay, so there was this you can say article which is related to menstrual leave and what court has said about this. We will see who has the prerogative with respect to that, what will be the advantage, what will be the disadvantage. Okay, then moving further hold on sorry about that. So moving further, we'll be discussing 1 or 2 articles which are related to your international relations, and then for your own read there will be 1 article, then last there will be a practice question. So let's start with our discussion from the practice question which was given to you in the previous lecture. Which country does Iran share its largest land boundary with, or the border with? Okay, Iraq, Afghanistan, Turkey or Pakistan. Okay, coming to the map over here, they are saying that which country Iran has the longest border. Okay, so options were Afghanistan, Pakistan, Turkey and Iraq. So obviously Iraq is the country with which Iran shares the longest boundary. Okay, option A would be your right answer over here. Okay, now moving further, we will be talking about the first article of the day, that is related to High Court refuses to set up medical board in passive euthanasia plea. Okay, there is a petitioner, a 30-year-old man suffered head injuries after a fall in 2013. Now in 2013 he has gone into a state of vegetation, and then since then he is not able to move, and there are various infections which has happened, because obviously when you are there on the bed for like 13 years, so after that there are high chances for 11 years, sorry, after 2030 until 2024, for 11 years if you are on the bed, there will be bed shot etc, and you can say there can be infections. Okay, now the thing is the family members has done very well taking care of him, but the thing is it has been a long time now. Okay, and there are the petition says that they are losing hope with respect to that, so that is why they have come up with to the court for the, you can say, allowing passive euthanasia. Okay, now when we are talking about euthanasia is kind of, you can say, assisted suicide. Okay, when we talk about assisted suicide and euthanasia, both are practices under which a person intentionally ends life with active assistance from others. Okay, so you must have heard about various cases. Aruna Shanbag case was there, and then there was another case in 2018. We will be talking about that as well. So these cases were related to your passive euthanasia. Okay, so moving forward, when we are talking about this particular definition, the mean is assisted suicide, a person who is not able to live without the help of, you can say, life support machineries or other kind of medical devices. In that cases, there are certain cases wherein these you can say misery is more than the, you can say, cost of the survival. Okay, so that is why basically there can be euthanasia. There are various countries where active euthanasia, passive euthanasia, they are legal, illegal. That's different thing. When we are talking about India, we have passive euthanasia, okay, that is a legal, and when we are talking about active euthanasia, that is not legal in India. We'll talk about that as well. So here you can say assisted suicide, euthanasia, both are practices under which a person intentionally ends their life with active assistance from outside, okay. Several European nations, some states in Australia and Colombia in South America allows assisted suicide and euthanasia under certain circumstances. Okay, so that is there. Now coming to the type, and you can say what euthanasia is. So active euthanasia means that you can say which is legal only in a few countries, entails the use of substances to end the life of a patient. Okay, substances like you can say poison or any kind of substance which can take life of a person. So they are directly administrative the poison with the intent to kill that particular patient. So that is basically your active euthanasia. Okay, then coming to the passive euthanasia, they will not administer any kind of medicine over there. They will just take out the life support, okay, on which he was surviving. Okay, it involves simply stopping the life-saving treatment or the medical interventions with the consent of the patient or a family member or a close friend representing the patient. So here they are not giving any kind of drug, okay. They will just withdraw the life support or the life-saving treatment which is going on. As and when we remove this, the patient will die his own death, okay, taking the time, if at all, if you are taking out the life support and he is dying immediately, that is the case. Otherwise he will die, because obviously he is not in a condition to live. Okay, so here is the thing. One is active euthanasia, wherein we are administrative some kind of medicine or some kind of drugs with which he will be dying, and in the second case, that is passive, we will be just removing the treatment or the you can say life saving medical devices. Okay, so that is there. Now, when we are talking about India, there was the landmark judgment 2018. We will talk about the judgment in the article. So from that particular time, India legalized passive euthanasia, stating that it was a matter of a living will. Okay. Now, if there is a living will, a person who has this awareness that there might be some kind of disease which may lead to a vegetative state or otherwise, so such person can go for a living will. Okay, in that will they can mention that in certain situations, if something like this happens, they are supposed to take away the life support. Okay, so that is basically there in this particular concept of living will. Okay, and in 2018 we have come up with, or we have legalized the passive euthanasia. Now coming to the article again. Here, Delhi High Court recently refused to order the constitution of a medical board to consider if 30-year-old man who has been in a vegetative state means that he will not be able to surviving without the medical assistance. Otherwise, you can say that he will not be able to move. He will be just there on the bed. He is living, but the thing is he cannot respond. He cannot move himself. Okay, that is basically your vegetative state, and he has been in that state since 2013. After suffering head injuries from fall, undergo passive euthanasia. So that is the basically petition which has been filed in front of court. Okay. In its July 2 order, a single judge bench of Justice Subramaniam Prasad referred to Supreme Court decision of 2018 and observed the fact indicated that the petitioner Harish Rana was not being kept alive mechanically and could sustain himself without any external aid. It is said that the petitioner was not on any life support system. So basically what they are saying, that court has said that after looking at the facts, they realize that he is not on any kind of life support system. Okay, he is surviving on his own, but he is in a vegetative state. Okay, so that the thing is, he is not on the you can say any kind of medical device. Okay, now the thing is, when we are talking about euthanasia, there is one that a person who is somehow not able to survive, and he is of either he is having this ability to give consent, or otherwise there is some person who can give consent on his behalf. Okay, then we can say that it is a passive euthanasia, because consent is there of a family member or otherwise. Okay, second thing is the person is not able to survive without a life support. Okay, in such cases passive euthanasia can be allowed in India. But now coming back to this particular point, the High Court said that the petitioner is thus living and no one, including the physician, is permitted to cause the death of another person by administering any lethal drug. Now that is the meaning here. They are saying that by administering any lethal drug, that means that they are talking about active euthanasia. Okay, and the thing is, in India active euthanasia is not allowed. Okay, Now if this person was on a life support and we are supposed to remove that life support, then it could have been a passive euthanasia. Okay. Even if the object is to relieve the patient from the pain and suffering, even in that case we cannot go for active euthanasia, because that is what our law does not allow that. Okay. Now passive euthanasia refers to an intentionally letting a patient die by withholding artificial life support such as ventilator or feeding tubes. Okay. As I told you, passive euthanasia means that just removing the life support. Okay. So that can be a ventilator, that can be a feeding tube. Okay. So that is what basically a passive euthanasia is. Okay. That is basically intentionally let someone die. Okay. In 2018 there was this case, that is Common Cause versus Union of India. This case is quite important for you, please remember that. That is Common Cause versus Union of India. Okay. So this is the case from 2018 which has actually allowed passive euthanasia in India. So here, thus the law of the land existing today is that no one is permitted to cause death of another person, including a physician, by administering any lethal drug, even if the objective is to relieve the patient from the pain and suffering. So here you can say that active euthanasia in India is not allowed. That is as simple as that. Now we are thus of the opinion that the right not to take a life-saving treatment by a person who is competent to make the informed decision is not covered by the concept of euthanasia. Okay. So basically here we are saying that if a person who is aware enough and he is saying that he will not be surviving on the life-saving support. So that is the concept where initially if there is a living will, or the person himself says that he will not be surviving on the ventilator or the feeding tube, in that case it is not a case of euthanasia, because that person can take decision on his behalf. Second thing, he is not on a you can say life support or something. Okay. Second thing is, when here you can see but a decision to withdraw life saving treatment by a person or the patient who is competent to take decision, as well as with regard to the patient who is not competent to take the decision, can be termed as passive euthanasia, which is lawful and legally permissible in India. Here they are saying that. Second thing is, when we are talking about I'm not taking a life support, okay, that means that there is no concept of euthanasia over there. When there is a life support and now you are removing it, that means that you are assisting into his death. That is basically passive euthanasia. So if a person who himself says that he want it removed, okay, so by some gesture, etc. Second thing is, on behalf of him, someone else, or let's say you can say if he is not able to make the decision, or he is not in the conscious state, in that case the family member or the close relative or a friend, okay, who is having the responsibility, can actually go for such decision. Okay. So basically here when we are talking about removing the life support, that is basically covered under the passive euthanasia. Okay. So that is about it. Now active euthanasia is legally impermissible, or you can say when we are talking about India, active euthanasia is illegal. While the courts sympathize with the patients, as petitioner is not terminally ill, this court cannot intervene and allow consideration of a prayer that is legally untenable. In this particular case, as he was not on a life support, so basically they are saying that if we have to kill him, that means that we have to administer a lethal drug. That means active euthanasia, which is not allowed in India. The plea stated that his family has done their best to treat him. However, he had been confined to his death. Confined to his bed since 2013 due to diffused axonal injury. Okay, diffused axonal injury is basically, you can say, a traumatic brain injury. If a person is falling from some particular place, in that case, if there is an injury from that particular trauma, that is called the diffuse axonal injury. Okay. So with that, since he has been on the bed, there are bed sores, etc., and that is why they have demanded the euthanasia over here, but court has refused it. Okay. I hope that is clear. We have discussed all the aspect of this particular you can say topic. Okay. Now moving further to the next article, which is related to your menstrual leave policy issue for employers, especially government. That is what Supreme Court has said. Okay. Now in this particular there was one petition. We will not go into the petition. The thing is, petition was related to the menstrual leave policies, and now in front of court there are two things: whether they have to allow it or not, whether they have to make it mandatory or not. Okay. Now court has said that that is a prerogative of policymakers. Okay. The policymakers has to decide on that. They will not interfere in that. Okay. But thing is, court has also observed two things over here. One thing is, it is necessary to provide the, you can say, when you are talking about menstrual leaves, okay, so we have to consider that. One thing is, when we consider the menstrual leaves, thing is clear, that is women are taking part in the workforce. Okay, if you are providing them menstrual leaves, so basically number of women participating inside your workforce, that is basically increasing. Okay, one thing. Second thing is, on the other hand, if you see, there are various employers or the various companies, they avoid taking women in their workforce or in their company because they have to give the menstrual leaves. Okay, so that is why court has said that the now policymaker has to decide what and how to deal with this particular situation, wherein there is one particular benefit to the woman of the society, and second thing is where these companies are not willing to do it, because if you are going for compulsory menstrual leaves, there are high chances there will be some kind of discrimination whenever there is a woman going for an interview of a job. Okay, so that is about it, which court has discussed over here. Let's see. Cautioning that the forcing employers to provide menstrual leaves should not actually end up to a disadvantage of women staff. Okay, if you are forcing or imposing this menstrual leaves on these employers, there are high chances they will try to not add any woman in the workforce. Okay, so that will be a disadvantage for the one particular section of the society. Now, the Supreme Court on the Monday said that the issue be better left to policymakers and asked the center to consider if a model policy should be framed. Okay, so here Supreme Court has said that it should be on the government and the policymakers to decide on that particular front. Now, there are two different perspectives. Having a menstrual leave policy increases the woman to take part in the workforce, which we have seen. Second thing is mandating such policies which actually impose sort of a bar on woman being employed, because the employer will then shun women in the workplace. We do not want that to happen also. Okay, so basically here they are saying that if you are making it mandatory, there are high chances that employers will try to discriminate, and that is also something which we don't want. Okay, now considering a plea urging it to direct the center and the state government and union territory to implement policies to grant menstrual leaves to women under Maternity Benefit Act 1961. So basically that was the petition which was put forward in front of the court, and court has said that it is best left to the policymakers. Okay, so I hope that is clear. When we are talking about the for and against, which we have seen that there are certain things, because when we are talking about the menstrual leaves, there can be benefit to the women's when we are talking about they are coming to the you can say a workforce, but there are some disadvantages, and because of which we need to scrutinize this particular issue and find a model which can be taking care of both the issues. Okay, now moving further to the next article, which is related to your economy section. Here you will see employment rates rises 6% provisionally in financial year 24 from 3.2 in financial year 23. That is a data from RBI. Okay, so here you will see when we are talking about the employment rate, so it is simply you can say how much employment it is an indication that how much employment we are generating, how much people in our workforce are employed basically. Okay, now here you will see the country's employment rate grew by 6% in the fiscal year ended March 2024, then from a growth of 3.2% in the last one. Okay, so basically right now fiscal year, if we see the 24 one, here you will see 6%, and then in the last year 23 you will see that there was 3.2%. so we are saying that there is a increase over here. Employment in the country increased by 4.67 crore to 64.33 crore provisional in the fiscal year 2023-24, and from 59.67 crore in 22-23. Okay, so here in last time when we have checked, that was 59.67 in the last year, that is financial year 23, that was 59.67 crore, and now it is 64.33 crore. Okay, so that is the number which you don't have to remember. Just know that when we are talking about the employment, there has been certain increase over here, and we are hoping that that is fine, a true case. When we are talking about the current situation of the economy, and if we say we have unemployment, then it will be drastic impact on it, because the thing is we are having a demographic dividend. Okay, and if we are having a demographic dividend, we have a workforce which can work for the development of the country or the economic growth of the country. But if there is no employment, then where will they work, and ultimately that will harm the economy of the country. Okay. Okay. Next is here the RBI is measuring productivity at industry level. So when we are talking about the industry level, or when we are talking about, you can say, going for any kind of survey, coming up with any data, there are certain indicators. Okay, so in this particular case, there are 4-5 indicators which has been used. One is, that is KLEMS. Okay, K is for capital, labor, L is for labor, E for energy, M for material, and S for services. Okay, so they are talking about the industry wherein they have actually gone for the capital, labor, energy, material, and services. So goods as well as services, both of them are taken care over here. So these are the indicators to make sure that you are taking a representative data. Okay, the database cover 27 industries comprising the entire Indian economy. The database also provides these estimations at the broad sectoral level: agriculture, manufacturing, and the services. Here you will see, when we are talking about the services, that is covering the services. Second thing is, when we are talking about the labor, they are covering the manufacturing as well as agriculture. Other than that, energy is also there. Material in manufacturing is important. Capital is important in all of them. Okay. So that is indicative of all the sectors of our country, that is basically agriculture, manufacturing, and the services. They are also actually measuring, or looking at the data which is related to gross value added, gross value of the output, labor employment, labor quality, capital stock, capital composition, and the consumption of the energy, material, services, etc., inputs, labor productivity, and the total factor productivity. Okay, now the thing is, basically they are saying that they are taking every aspect of it. They are adding the gross value added. Okay, so how economy is performing, they are adding to that. They are actually including here labor employment, labor quality, whatever consumptions are there with respect to your material, or you can say energy, all these things are included. So that is how they are coming up with a picture to make sure that we understand that employment rates are rising to 6% this time. Okay, the latest quarterly periodic labor force survey report. Okay, we know that there is this particular periodic labor force survey report, okay, released by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So please remember that this has been asked once in the examination as well. Okay, unemployment rate UR in urban area is decreasing from 6.8 during the January-March 2023 to 6.7% in the January-March 2024. Basically, they are actually comparing a time period of January to March from the last year to this year. Okay, so they are saying that the unemployment rate in urban areas is decreasing. Okay, so unemployment rate decreasing means that people are getting employment. Okay, so that is there. Now when we are talking about the female unemployment rate, that is also declined from 9.2% to 8.5%. okay, and they are also considering the same timeline, that is January to March from the last year and this year. Okay, so here we can say that in the urban areas unemployment is decreasing. In the you can say female participation of the workforce, that is also, you can say that unemployment is decreasing over here. Okay, labor force participation rate in urban areas has increased trend from 48.5 to 50.2. okay, so the labor force participation is increasing. Now see, if we are saying that unemployment that is decreasing in urban areas and among the female, that means that employment is increasing. Okay, second thing is, if we are saying that labor force participation is increasing, that means that laborers are more and more adding to the workshop, that means that workforce, that means that again unemployment is decreasing. Okay, so that is about it. In this article they have talked about this particular thing. Okay, increasing trends in the worker population ratio, so that is also there. That is also an indicator. Whenever there is a workforce participation, unemployment, or you can say employment rate, etc., these are indication of the workforces which has been participation, or you can say people who are getting employment or not. Okay, so that is there. Now moving further to the next article, which is related to the government reopens application window for white goods in PLI. Okay, PLI, you know that there is this particular scheme, production linked incentives was there. Okay, this scheme started in way back after the COVID. Okay, in 2020 2021, at that point of time we have started this production linked incentives for. Okay, and now this is the third time they have actually opened the applications for the white goods. Okay, white goods are basically nothing but those you can say objects which are basically been manufactured and they are having, or they are traditionally put under a white color. Okay, so if you see AC are having a white color, LEDs are having white colors. Okay, so such instruments are basically called white goods. Okay, Now government is going for the opening of application window for the white goods in the PLI scheme. Okay, now let's talk about this. The government on Monday reopened the window for fresh application from companies willing to invest under the production linked incentives scheme for white goods, shifting to a system of quarterly processing of incentive claims for sector. Okay, now the thing is quarterly processing. When we are talking about particular sector, there are certain payments and settlements, etc. So in this particular thing, they are saying that they will go for the quarterly settlements or the quarterly processing. Okay, so that is also there. This is the third round which we have seen. The PLI scheme for the white goods is to run from 2021 to 2022, 2028 to 2029, and the outlays of 6,238 crores. So basically starting from 2021-22 year to 2028-29. So that is the timeline for which this particular scheme will be there for the you can say white goods. Okay, now here existing beneficiaries can also apply if they propose to invest more by the way of switching over to higher targets segment of their group companies applying different targets. Okay, so basically if someone is already the beneficiary of this particular you can say scheme and they want to increase the investment, they can also do that. Okay, a shift from annual to quarterly settlement of the incentives claims will enable the beneficiary company to maintain liquidity. Now the thing is, earlier when we are talking about this particular settlements, they were annual settlements. Okay, since it is a scheme of government has to pay back, or you can say government has to give these incentives. Okay, now once company get the incentive, they will have money in their hand so that they can operate at a better efficiency. Now the thing is, if that is an annual you can say process, then they have to wait for 1 year. Now they have actually made it quarterly, so every 3 you can say months they will be getting these incentives, so that liquidity can be, or you can say the flow of the currency or the supply of the money will be there and they can use it effectively. Okay, now PLI for white goods, which includes air conditioning and their parts and LEDs, etc., is run by Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, that is DPIIT. Okay, now this address the complaints of slow offtake of incentives. Okay, so basically earlier there was this issue that these offtakes or the incentives are coming at a very slow pace, and because of which they have to wait for 1 year altogether. Now this is why they have gone for the quarterly you can say changes. Now this particular paragraph is there that who can get the benefit by for which time. Okay, or the timeline of the period which is given, but I hope I think this is not important for your examination, but if you want to go through it. Okay, as I told you, there were 3 windows. Okay, this is the third window which has been open for the applications. The first window was there, so they have told you that for first windows till when they can get these incentives, and for the second window till when they can get the incentives. Okay, so that is there. Now moving to the part where we will be discussing about the white goods, and then we will be discussing the PLI scheme altogether. Now white goods refer to the heavy consumable or the large home appliances which are traditionally available in white color. For that example, AC, parts of the AC and LEDs, etc. They include appliances such as washing machines, air conditioner, stove, refrigerator, etc. Okay, so these are your white goods. Now coming to the next part, which is talking about the PLI scheme. Okay, so production linked incentives scheme was conceived to scale up the domestic manufacturing capability, accompanied by the higher import substitution and employment generation. So basically, since you are providing some certain incentives in the manufacturing sector, the objective is to increase the manufacture. Okay, to make sure that you are not going for imports and you are being self reliant. Okay, other than that, when we are talking about the employment, that is also necessary. When we are talking about the anything which is in the we are trying to give any kind of incentives in the manufacturing sector, we are hoping that there will be employment generation. Okay, so these are the 3: domestic manufacturing, second was the import substitution, and third was the employment generation. These were the core objective of that. Now domestic and the foreign companies receive financial rewards for manufacturing in India based on the percentage of their revenue over the 5 years. So basically they have selected particular sectors and they have seen that in that particular sectors, Indian companies or the domestic companies as well as the foreign companies can come and start manufacturing processes over here, and they will get the incentives. Okay, now the prime objective of the PLI scheme is to make manufacturing in India globally competitive by removing the sectoral disabilities, creating economies of the scale and ensuring efficiencies. When we are talking about this particular term, economies of scale, that means that when the you can say a small scale industry is going for production, so obviously there are certain you can say benefits you will get at if you are going for the production at a higher level, or you can say at a large scale. So if you are going for the production at a very large scale, so you will get certain you can say incentives in the form of discounts or any way. Wastage will be less. All these things will be there when we are talking about the higher machineries. Okay, so electricity requirement can be very small. All these things were there, and they add to a added benefit to the scale. Because of the large scale, you are going for the lesser you can say leakages. Ultimately that will benefit that will benefit you, and that term is basically called the economies of the scale. Because of the large scale, you are having some kind of benefits. Okay, now moving further, it is designed to create a complete component ecosystem in India and make India an integral part of the global supply chain. In the COVID, we have seen that there are certain countries which are mostly dependent on a few countries. Like when we are talking about API etc., we are dependent on China. Okay, when we are talking about the pharmaceutical company, pharmaceutical industry, there are certain APIs which are basically important for the as a raw material, you can say, for the pharmaceuticals. So basically we are dependent on the China. Even various countries are dependent on the China, and because of the COVID there was this break in the supply chain. Okay, we do not want that, and that is why we are trying to become the part of that global supply chain, so that we can ensure that such breaks are not there. Okay, so that is there. The scheme is expected to attract global investment, generate large scale employment opportunities, and the enhance export substantially, which we have already discussed. Now coming to the next part, what are the targeted sectors? When this particular scheme was started in 2020-2021, at that point of time, you can say there were certain sectors like mobile and allied component manufacturing, electrical component manufacturing, and the medical devices. These three components were added initially. After that, later it has been extended to 14 sectors. Okay, and 14 sectors are given over here. Here you will say mobile manufacturing, manufacturing of the medical devices, automobiles and auto components, pharmaceuticals, drug, specialty, steel, telecom and networking products, electronic products, white goods, and here you will see food products, textile products, solar PV modules, and advanced chemistry cells, batteries, drones components, etc. So these are the basically you can say those targeted sectors which has been increased to 14 from 3 to now 14. Okay, so I hope that is clear about the PLI scheme. Now moving further to the next article, that is basically for your own read. Okay, so we have talked about the elections in Iran. There was this election, then in UK there was the election, then in France elections was there, and in USA we will be witnessing elections very soon. So when we are talking about the France, there is certain kind of hung parliament situation which is there. Okay, so we have already discussed this thing yesterday also we have gone through, and again the thing is you don't have to be very you can say worried about the domestic politics of another country. Other than that, we will be discussing this particular article in news, so you can keep a tab on that. So with that, that today's discussion is over. We will go to the last part, that is basically our MCQ practice. So here, which year did the Supreme Court of India pass historic judgment on passive euthanasia? 2005, 2011, 2013, 2018. Okay, considering the current situation in country, what was the landmark judgment? And you can mention the name of that particular judgment which we have discussed in the comment box. Okay, so you can attempt this question, answer in the comment box. With that, I would like to take your leave. If you have any doubts etc., you can ask me in the comment box. Other than that, for the PDF, you can directly go to the Telegram channel and download the PDF of this discussion, and the link of the Telegram channel is given in the description, so that is there. Other than that, if you have not subscribed the channel, please subscribe it. Have a nice day. Thank you.